Hey, I just really love Hebrews chapter 11 verse 1 in the Amplified version. Defining faith. It's just exquisite. It says, now faith is the assurance, the confirmation, the title deed of the things we hope for, being the proof of things we do not see and the conviction of their reality. Faith perceiving as real fact what is not revealed to the senses. What an exquisite definition of faith. Absolutely exquisite definition of faith. You know, we hope for many things, but having hope alone, you're living with the idea that something's going to happen, you're going to get something, you're going to achieve something, you're going to reach a certain goal. But faith is the assurance, the confirmation, the title deed of the things we hope for. In other words, we've already got what we hope for. Now, what is it that you hope for? Being the proof of things we do not see and the conviction of their reality, the next part of the verse. Being the proof of things we do not see and the conviction of their reality. Being the proof of that which you can't see and the conviction of its reality. So if you have a true definition of faith within your heart, it brings you into a place of complete rest, because you're no longer striving to get something. You're actually in full possession of it, whatever that might be. I guess that's why it says that the righteous will live by faith. We are justified through faith, declared innocent through faith. The righteousness of faith. You know, you might look at me and judge me according to the sight. And externally, you'd say, he's not a righteous person, he's not a good person. But if I've got righteousness by faith, that means I've got the assurance of it. I've got the title deed of it. I've got the evidence of something that isn't actually seen. So do you believe you've got righteousness? And when we say righteousness, we're talking about actually just God's divine nature. God has given you himself, his own divine nature. So when God looks at you, he sees himself. That's why you're now a son. You share in his sonship, adopted into his family. He is your father. So he replicates himself, reproduces himself in you through you believing his word of righteousness. But faith is the title deed, the confirmation of the things we hope for. We've got the Holy Spirit. Do you believe that you have the Holy Spirit, or do you believe the Holy Spirit's going to come? Do you believe that you have God's wisdom and grace, or do you think God's going to give it to you? Do you believe you have grace for living, God's love manifest in your life? Or do you believe you have to do something to get it? Think about the things you truly long for. Think about the things you truly hope for. Might it be a relationship, a husband, a wife? Might it be for God to work in you through ministry? Might it be to hear God's voice? Might it be for greater intimacy for God? Are these some of the things that you long for? Might it be for greater understanding and revelation of who God is and what He's done for you? Well, these are your longings, these are your desires, these are the things you hope for. Well, faith is the confirmation. Faith takes hope and supercharges it into a living reality, into a living present moment where you have it, to the extent that you no longer hope for it because you've got it. So faith itself is much more than hope. It's actually the manifestation of hope in an invisible form within your heart, where you see it to the extent that you know you've got it, which causes you to celebrate and party in the reality of the fact that you have got it. So if you think about it like this, you've got faith for let's say a material thing like a car. But you've got no car and you can't afford a car, but you've got faith that you have a car, a lovely car. So you start rejoicing because you can see that you've got a car. From your point of view, you have a car. Now, everyone else thinks you're poor, but you think you're rich. You think you can afford a car. So when the day comes when that car actually manifests before your eyes, it's a bit of an anticlimax for you, because you were partying and rejoicing in the fact that you had the car a long time ago. So when the people see you with the car, they go, wow, you've got a car. But from your point of view, you had that car way, way back when you first believed. And this applies to the fullness of God's grace. See, brothers and sisters, God has given us the riches of His grace. It applies to things like healing. Do you believe God has given you grace where you can say, I'm healed, but there's no outward evidence that you're healed? Do you believe that God has forgiven you and taken away your sin, even though you're struggling with sin? Do you believe? Do you have the confirmation, even though there's no outward evidence for it? So you're walking in faith. You know you've got it. So you're rejoicing that you're free, that you've got the Spirit of God, the overflowing life of Christ in you. You're rejoicing that you're a brand new person, complete and whole. Even though those who, your friends and colleagues and family members, may see it quite differently. They may be judging you according to the outward man. But you're walking by faith because you're already living in the finished product. You've already got the finished product. And your heart experiences the joy of having that finished product. And that, my friends, is what faith is. See, God gives you the grace. He gives you the completeness. He gives you the finished product of whatever it may be. And you walk by faith believing that you've already got it. That's faith. Glory. Now faith is the assurance, the confirmation, the title deed of the things we hope for. Being the proof of things we do not see, and the conviction of their reality. Faith perceiving as real fact what is not revealed to the senses. Exquisite. Exquisite. Hebrews 11 verse 1, the Amplified Version.